of April 2026. A very good morning to you and welcome to TV47 Breakfast. You got it right, TV47 Breakfast. My name is Anolida Karibu-sana.
Yes, indeed, and I think it is actually the 13th of April, not the 12th of April. Karibu-sana, my name is Fred Indemuli. This indeed is TV47 Breakfast. New things, new way of doing things. But the coffee is still as hot as usual.
Now we allow you to even take tea if you want. You can take tea. This is breakfast.
I know I need some coffee. I'm done with the bag. You can hear my voice is a bit rusty, but then again, mambo kama ya kukwamsha, we'll still do it here. As you can see now, even our hashtag has changed.
Yes.
So even as you talk to us, it is hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag story ni yetu.
Au sio? Story ni yetu inamaanisha story ni yako pia. Story ni yangu, story ni ya Fred, story ni yako. Story ni yetu. So talk to us. Lakini social zinabaki zile zile. TV47 Digital on X, on Facebook TV47 Kenya, YouTube TV47 Kenya, but remember to tag us. Manake handles pia hazijageuka. At _Dida.
At Fred Indemuli.
Lakini New Dawn. Kumaanisha everything is changing. You will see new things. You've started seeing new things.
Did you watch Connect?
I did.
Yes, on Saturday. Have you even watched the news, new news anchors on our screens?
Yeah.
On TV47. Did you watch House Number 9?
Did you?
Did you?
Yeah.
Make sure you watch those shows and then come back and tell us how it is that you feel we've done different.
Kwanza acha niwaambie kitu. If you know what's best for you, you would tune in and watch those things. If you know what's best for you. Alafu sasa on Friday night, we had a very special dinner, specifically for TV47, our stakeholders, and of course, Cape Studios. Ilikuwa mwecheche.
Ilikuwa mwecheche.
We have that story, don't we? We do. Let's have that.
It was not your ordinary corporate event. From crowd interaction to powerful reflections on media and identity, the Cape Media Shareholders Dinner blended entertainment with a clear message. Kenyan stories must take center stage.
We are bold, we are daring. Our advertisers don't rate us anymore amongst small players. We are playing big. We are playing on the global stage. So that is where we want you to place us.
The evening also attracted key stakeholders, highlighting the growing intersection between media, government, and the creative economy. Cape Media unveiling a slate of new shows spanning talk, youth culture, and entertainment, signaling a shift toward inclusive storytelling. But beyond the glitz, it was a message from young voices that stood out.
And if you look around Kenya is young. We are full of young people. So it never really made sense that we could be so many and yet still feel so unseen. And I think that's what makes this moment different. Because for once, it didn't feel like someone was trying to figure out. It didn't feel like someone was trying to figure us out from a distance.
A powerful reflection of a generation that is not just consuming content, but shaping it. With young people driving culture, trends, and conversations, the expectation is clear. Media must reflect their realities. Cape Media's new direction is rooted in listening and creating content with audiences, not just from them.
The stories that we tell always be authentic and authentically Kenyan. Stories that reflect who we are. Stories that preserve our culture. Stories that challenge us, inspire us, and connect us.
We are delivering high-quality content, not only TV shows, but we are also able to produce commercials, shoot movies, and all these are being shot with international standards, but remaining locally authentic.
And as a company invests in modern studios and talent, it is also looking beyond borders, aiming for globally competitive content grounded in Kenyan identity.
The reason we have chosen the 18 to 35-year-olds is because of the demographic reality in Kenya. The population of Kenya is very young. We are 75% below the age of 35. That is about 43 million people. 18 to 35, that's about 19 to 20 million people. That's a lot of people to leave behind.
It has a bold Kenyan content, not content that imitates what works in Lagos, in Johannesburg, or London. Not content calibrated to a foreign audience. Content that is rooted in their soil, this culture, and these stories. Story ni ya nani?
Government stakeholders also back in the shift, pointing to media as a critical economic driver.
When we come up with programs, when we come up with interventions, we must come up with those interventions.
Right, story ni yetu indeed.
Sorry.
And I was looking for you because on that piece of news package, because ulikuwa umedunga.
Wacha nitaenda kutafuta Wangare nimuulize mbona.
How come you were not featured there?
Na vile nilikuwa nimedunga.
What about the next day on Saturday?
So nice.
Wow,
Hey.
enter. Everything came to a standstill.
Let me
within
tell
the
you,
CBD.
when we say it was mwecheche, it was mwecheche.
Indeed, story ni yetu. Story ni yetu.
Story
We're
ni
here
yetu.
with a bang.
I'll see you.
Yes.
Very new things, very fresh things right here for you. But at this point, I want us to take a look at the state of the weather, even as we continue to update you. All right, let's start off. And where are we starting from? We start off from Meru. This morning, it's 22 degrees, 16 degrees actually, as of 22 degrees expected today. That's the weather this 13th of April. That is Meru. We have Malindi as well. This morning, it's 26 degrees. It's a very hot day in Malindi. As of 30 degrees expected in Malindi today. So it's a chilly day. No chances of rain in Malindi. We have Mombasa as well. It's 26 degrees this morning, highs of 30 degrees expected today. It's also a sunny day in Mombasa. Embu, it's raining this morning. It's 18 degrees, highs of 24 degrees expected today. That's the weather in Embu this morning. We have Eldoret as well. It's 14 degrees this morning, highs of 24 degrees expected today in Eldoret County. So it's likely to rain in Eldoret, and that's the state of the weather. All right, let's have the quote of the day.
Always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later.
Upandacho utakivuna. That's simply what they're saying. Ukipanda leo, that's what you're going to harvest within no time. All right, let's come back and take a look at the newspapers now. And we start off with the Standard, and it talks about making of a scandal. That's a big headline there. And you'll realize that today there's no single headline that matches any other. Stories are as varied as they come. And so the Standard goes with this one. Call it a family affair. A trove of payroll records, WhatsApp messages, and bank documents suggest a teacher's welfare scheme financed by members' monthly deductions has been captured by a network of relatives and associates. At the center of the allegations is a leadership accused of betraying trust and presiding over possible abuse of funds and office. That story is on page 6. We do have a physical copy of this paper. This is the only story on the front page. Inaitwa Kewater. Kenya... Kewater. What is this one? Let me take a look at page 4 of this story, because it would appear many teachers are affected by it. It was supposed to be a lifeline for Kenya women teachers. Yes, a welfare organization and vehicle for empowerment. Now, how teachers' welfare scheme became a family's payroll empire. I'm told that one of the people in the leadership has employed quite a number of her relatives into this. And they're earning some good salaries as well. Na hii pesa ni ya welfare. Yeah. So if I told your mother, I'm sure every family has a teacher. I'm sure you have an aunt or someone who's a teacher.
My mother and father, they're
both teachers, yes. Quite a number of my uncles are teachers, but come to think of it. Yeah. So especially women teachers, their welfare, someone is taking advantage of it. And that's what is on the front page of this paper. So amount of money each teacher contributes monthly is about 200 bob, but they're like 95,000. Yeah? So that's about 19 million shillings monthly. In 12 months, that's 228 million shillings. Alafu kuna mtu tu hapo ana preside over this fund. Alafu kumbe ni familia yake ndio ina benefit. So that's the main story. Kule ndani, inside Joe Nyaga's burial wishes at center of 220 million succession battle. It's only last week we were talking about how over the past month or so we've been discussing about issues succession. And we discussed about wills and whether or not you've actually made a will. Chunga sana. Kule kwingine, yesterday President William Ruto hosted a Corino in State House na akasema he has the right to host them and to host anyone else at State House. On the back page, Spurs ruled bad luck as relegation fears deepen. Tottenham Hotspur were not relegated. Now they fall, and the below the main teams that will survive the EPL. Lakini shida hata sio Spurs. Kusema ukweli tu, Arsenal fans, this one we have to admit. It's painful, yes, but I think it's time to say, okay, fine, our season is done.
Kuna hopes.
Mimi sina hope.
I mean,
as an Arsenal fan, I've lost hope.
Ya EPL? Ya kushinda EPL?
Ya kushinda EPL hata hiyo nimepoteza kila kitu. Champions League even worse.
Hapana, heri tushinde hiyo EPL tuachane na Champions League.
Our director today is Emmanuel Inonda.
Hapana, wacha nikwambie, if they just change the players, ama if our players wakijituma vizuri, we might get something from EPL.
Nimeinua mkono. Inonda, nimeinua mkono. That's the standard today.
Let's take a look at the Daily Nation. Director, you're out of order. Daily Nation. Trouble in Ruto, ODM Union. Trouble in Ruto at ODM Union. In what signals a dramatic implosion in the broad-based government, ODM has threatened to walk out of the arrangement unless President Ruto reins in a powerful cable accused of coercing its MPs to join UDA and warning cabinet secretaries against associating with the orange outfit. The minority leader, Junet Mohammed, has been quoted here. We are not in this union by mistake or by invitation. We joined to foster unity, and if this agenda is no longer needed, we should be told because we don't lack options. If they feel they're now on a safer ground, we can let them form their own government in 2027. Oh, wow. Sasa tone ina change, language ina change. It's plan B. Junet cautions UDA that ODM has options if union collapses.
How many options?
What are the options?
Yeah, what are the options? By the way, vile watu wapige kifua sana over the past 1 year or so, what are the options that they have?
What are the options? Because sasa washa abandon this other side.
Yes.
The United Alternative Government.
You know, they have like, the cracks within ODM are like 4-way.
Yeah.
Kuna like 4 different factions right now. Kuna wale wanataka kazi za cabinet, kuna wale wanataka nyanza ya zoning, kuna wale wanasema linda mwananchi, na kuna wengine pia wanataka deputy president.
Or is this the reason why they're so big on zoning? Because wanaona ni kama kuna vile mambo yanaiba.
Divide and rule. Divide and rule. Now they're being forced to abandon ODM and join UDA. Mambo ni, ulisema mambo ni nini?
Mambo ni mwecheche.
Mwecheche.
Yes. Right, and that's the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Other quick headlines: Aviator, the gaming craze pushing addicts to the brink. This series on page 7 says Aviator, a crash-style betting game where players try to cash out before a virtual plane flies away, is plunging gamers into debt, depression, and divorce. Last year, we also saw a story like this. So ni kama Aviator imeshindwa kutoka Kenya. We'll take a look at it in another newspaper, which has covered it extensively. But other quick headlines: Kindiki office, 153 million shillings in 75 days choppers bill. This is a story on page 5. It's an interesting read. It says, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki's office blew 153.6 million shillings on helicopter trips across the country in some 75 days last year, according to documents submitted to Parliament.
Meaning that they're using more than 2 million shillings a day.
Yes.
Just to fly around. Where?
450 million.
Kazi kama hiyo.
Wacha nitakuja nikwambie kitu niliona mahali. 450 million is the extra allocation to the Deputy President Office for hospitality and hiring helicopters approved in the supplementary budget. You know, when this story ili make headlines pale social media sana Twitter, I came across a very interesting tweet, and I think a lot of people should see it, including the leaders. Somebody said, amka ujitume ndio the office of the Deputy President ipate pesa ya helicopter.
Helicopter.
Yes.
But you know, between 2022 and now, 2027, you see the number of choppers used for campaigns has really gone up. Every MP nowadays, even those, I remember when we had a panel here and they were going to Olkalau for funeral service. And all of them were using a chopper. What happened to just driving on the road? Yeah? Even Salasi, I'm told, the Mias East MP uses a chopper to go home. I'm telling you, by the time 2027 in Africa, itakuwa ni chopper tu zinapitana tu hivi hewani.
Yes, na bado, we haven't seen it all. Pastor fights auction of 960 shillings property. That's another story here on the front page. On the back page of the Daily Nation, starlets dispatch India, but Australia present bigger test. Talks about the 2026 FIFA series, which Kenya is hosting, and TV47 is official media partner for this particular event.
That story about the pastor, you know, Pastor Mwiru, many younger Kenyans may not remember him. Pastor Mwiru was very popular back in the day, late 90s and early 2000s. He even ran for president at some point, and he has a very interesting voice. But kuna story hapa page 2. Why unpaid dowry cannot deny a father custody of his child. Unajua ati huku nilipia mahari kwa hivyo hata utapata huyu mtoto. Koti imesema hapana. Kukosa kulipa mahari has nothing to do with you being a dad or a mom. Yeah?
Sina maoni.
Angalia vile unakaa sasa.
Sina maoni. Kama unataka niongee,
sio lazima ulipe dowry, you still remain a father. All right. It's an interesting story there. Let's take a look at the Star now.
Yeah.
And the Star focuses on something different. SACCOs borrow banks template to shield billions. And I think SACCOs are now coming back to the headlines. Remember, there's a bill that seeks to change how SACCOs are run and how that money can be accessed by government. The bill to introduce term limits for officials, stricter reporting rules, and I think we should look deeply into this bill. I think iko na mambo mingi sana, especially for guys who are saving in SACCOs. What does this bill mean? And tuongea na producer tulete your discussion here, SACCOs, and what it means when all these things come up. More interesting stories, of course, yesterday being a Sunday, watu walienda kanisani. President Ruto hosted faithful in State House, na pale Deputy President amedance kweli kweli na wakorino pale. Meanwhile, Tuju also went to church. Tuju turns to prayers amid trouble. So that's the main story. Pale chini, time crunch MP Otiende pushes Ruto and Oburu to act on coalition talks team, and how marginalized counties stand to shape 2027 elections. Nyuma, local football brewers beware. Gor Eye crucial win over Tusker as title race tightens. And that's a Star. Fresh, independent, different. If you have 60 shillings here in Kenya, you can buy yourself a copy of this paper.
Janga la Aviator is the main story on the front page of Taifa Leo. Wanaita kamari, Wakenya wengi hasa vijana wamejipata katika mzongo wa mawazo, wengine wakiaga dunia kutokana na athari mbaya za mchezo huo bahati nasibu kwenye simu za mkononi. Habari kamili iko katika ukurasa wa pili. Wanasema vijana wengi wamezama katika mchezo wa kamari ya ndege kwenye simu unaomeza pesa baada ya sekunde chache. Vidokeze zaidi, Gachagua adai kipo kikosi cha kuwadhuru, amuonya Ruto kuwa iwapo mmoja wao atauawa, huo utakuwa mwisho wa serikali ya Kenya Kwanza.
Alimwambia that will be your last day at State House. If at all any of the united opposition leaders is harmed.
Letu
jicho tu. Watu wanarusha hapa threats hapa left, right, center. Anyway.
Mamilioni ya Pastor Pius Muiru hatarini. Hiyo ni habari pia katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Kule juu wanazungumzia mada nyeti ambazo za msubiri Papa Afrika. Papa anaanza ziara ya Afrika leo, mada za ushoga na wake wengi zikimngoja. The late Pope aliapprove au LGBTQ wakaribisheni kanisani.
Alisema we cannot bagua anyway.
Hatuwezi bagua. Hata wao priests wacha wapate watu.
Hapo sasa ndio kuna shida hapo. I don't think the church doctrine imeenda that far, but anyway, letu jicho tu kama vile
ndio maana wanasema mada nyeti za msubiri Papa Afrika. Na habari ya Junet pia imezungumziwa hapo juu katika ukurasa wa pili. Ampa Ruto onyo aikome ODM. Huku chini nimeona anazungumzia Arsenal. Liverpool yajinyanyua, Arsenal pabaya. Ni habari katika ukurasa 20 wa gazeti hili, na hiyo ni gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Let's take a look at the People Daily, and it talks about political party funding, how political parties' funding crisis may derail 2027 election. The story is on page 4. The office entrusted with financing and managing electoral groups, underfunded and under-resourced, paving way to unregulated scramble for post-poll influence. And the question is, because we have so many parties, over 83 registered political parties currently, most of them are funded by the taxpayer, or if you qualify for funding. Hizi pesa apparently, because many people may be wondering, what are they used for? Apparently, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is supposed even to train party officials on how to conduct party matters. Lakini wanasema pesa ndio hakuna.
Ya kutrain.
Ya kutrain. It has to be, hata kama hujaenda shule lazima utrainiwe on how to run a political party. Yeah. It's not too zile as a briefcase. Pale juu, that top strip, goons, guns and grief, dangerous return of intolerance. And this is going to feature in our State of the Nation discussion this morning, the return of goons. You saw what happened in Kikuyu constituency over the weekend. We still freshly remember what happened to Vihiga Senator Godfrey Osotsi and so many other things. Even in Kitale, kuna watu walilimwa na goons. And so it's become a trend. And this is about 14, 15 months to the next election. Is this what we should expect heading into the polls? So that's the People Daily on Ajita, People and Politics.
All right, let's take a look at the Business Daily. If you can just help me with the physical copy. Swiss farm fights Kenya over rejected fuel cargo. That's the main headline on the front page of the Business Daily this morning. It says Kenya is staring down the barrel of a costly legal battle after terminating 2 super petrol import contracts that were outside its exclusive fuel supply deal with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Swiss-owned Oryx Energies Kenya, one of the firms contracted in March to import 96,000 tons of super petrol, has written to the Energy Ministry rejecting the contract cancellation. Now, this is another twist because they were told that that oil cannot operate. That's substandard oil, quote unquote. Now, correspondence seen by this newspaper indicates that the Energy Ministry informed Oryx Energies of the cancellation on March 31st, just 3 days before 5 senior energy sector bureaucrats were arrested. This story is on page 2, and it's a very interesting read because this story, as we can remember, was making headlines just at the beginning of Easter celebrations.
But you know, we were told about this. If you cancel a contract with someone, especially a government, then you have to pay. Yeah? And that's the beauty of it. The businessman is not going to lose anything. Yeah. So that's your bill as a taxpayer.
Yeah.
You cancelled that deal, you just pay. Hakuna shida ingine. Yeah.
Right. Fresh legal hurdle hits sale of 300 billion shilling stake in EABL. That's another story on the front page of the Business Daily. On the ticker, Treasury raises domestic borrowing target by 570 billion shillings. Kenya Airways bailout era under threat from global competition rules. And of course, farms drain 1 trillion shillings from Kenya through foreign tender deals. And that's the Business Daily.
Yes. On the regional front, issues to do with fuel and oil making headlines on the front page of the East African. Excuse me. Queries are Somalia set for oil boon. Critics say hydrocarbons exploitation deal with Turkey gives Ankara undue advantage, but officials maintain it is fair and in current circumstances. So hata Somalia ako pale. Matters oil again, still on the front page, why fuel shortages will linger in East Africa. Yes, kutakuwa na shida. Remember the entire of last week, Tanzania were just talking about fuel on the front page. Tunaendelea. Museveni Ruto rules kick in at ESC is another story. Na pale kwa front page of the East African, we have a picture there of President Paul Kagame of Rwanda and the First Lady lighting a flame at the remembrance of the Kigali Genocide Memorial to mark the 32nd anniversary of the Kibuka, of the genocide back in 1994. That's the East African. Tukiangalia magazeti ya Uganda, tunaanza na the Daily Monitor. And I think that's the only paper we have from Uganda this morning. The Daily Monitor talks about school issues, fake PLE exams and results. Mambo ya fake results pia Uganda na kuanga. But once again, education given prominence on the front page of that paper. Hiyo picha iko hapo chini, thousands attended Kabaka birthday run yesterday. Na kuna mzee hapo sijui kama aliweza kukimbia lakini alikuwa pale. Tukivuka boda tuingie kule Bongo, gazeti la Mwananchi, kilio cha wafanyakazi, masuala ni mafuta bado, kupaa bei ya mafuta na bidhaa, vyama sasa vyapigia magoti serikali, waajiri kupunguza mzigo wa gharama, wachumi wataja mbinu za kuwalinda, kodi ya mshahara yatajwa. That's the main story, Matters Fuel. Tukiangazia gazeti la The Citizen, still in Tanzania, away from Matters Fuel, it's about Air Tanzania, why ATCL hopes to break even in 2027. Air Tanzania Company Limited is projecting a return to financial stability by 2027. Well, we wish them well. Airlines in this region hazinanga bahati sana. So that's The Citizen.
All right, let's come back home and take a look at the caricatures now. And we start off with the one on the Daily Nation.
Yes. Daily Nation, kuna nguruwe lakini they're using goons as puppets. Of course, when you use a caricature of a pig, it always refers to politicians. 2027 debate campaign strategy. So it would appear it's now official. The main campaign strategy heading in 2027 is to use goons, crude weapons, at a fair.
One of the people Daily Star no stake, kuna yule mtu alisema, I respect you lakini sikuogopi, yuko hapo. The senator wa Nyandarua.
Amejaa ndevu kweli kweli. Aha, cartoon on the Star facing the mountain. Kuna jamaa wamekaa hivi wanaangalia mlima lakini kuna State House ball nyuma. Na wao ni kama Wakorino. Ama hizi ni kofia gani hizo?
Ni hao.
Ni Wakorino, walikuwa jana State House.
Walikuwa jana State House. Wakaitwa wasaliti.
I heard somewhere that they were complaining they were expecting 10,000 shillings each, wakapewa 3,000. Na ikutosha baswe na lunch.
Si president alisema atawasort.
Si walisotiwa.
Sasa wanasema haitoshi.
That's a cartoon of the Star. Finally, the Standard.
The Standard, political projects. Kuna mtu hapo, yeye ni mtu wa political projects. Anasema, see, we are always spoiled for choice.
Oh, political rejects actually.
Is it rejects? Right, political rejects. Hapo every electioneering period, the new parties being formed. All of them are here. There's a Agano Party. Agano Party tunaikumbuka ilikuwa.
Hata ukifukuzwa chama yako utapata chama. Usijali. Chama vyama viko kila mahali.
Ni mingi.
Hata wale wa ODM Junet akicomplain, hauwezi kosa chama.
Political rejects they call it. And these are the stories making headlines locally and of course regionally as well. Later on in State of the Nation, we have a very packed show today.
Yes.
Starting now up until 11 a.m.
Until 11 we'll still be here, updating you on what's trending. Remember, even being a Monday Blitz will be here.
Yeah.
They'll be talking about Arsenal and everything else. And for State of the Nation, we'll be having James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Esther Pasaris, who's a woman representative in Nairobi County, and Fwamba Nsifwamba, political commentator. Just before we take a break, let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. All right, Ngong Road, Nairobi is looking green at this time of day, not so bad. Isipokuwa pale ile roundabout ya Daystar pale karibu City Mortuary roundabout. Just a bit of traffic there, not so bad as you get towards town. Many people are now trying to get into town, into the CBD. Let's go to the eastern part of the city. Wayaku is not looking bad on both sides, coming down from ABC Place in past Museum roundabout. It's looking green. Even the other side coming from the airport towards the city center, it's not so bad. Tuangalie wale common problems kama wale Thika Road na Jogoo Road, because huko ndo kuna kuanga na shida kama kawaida. Thika Road, yes, kama kawaida, you can see all the way from the Utalii Drift heading towards the Pangani interchange. It's getting busy. Sema weka mawe ni mbaya. Inaingia hadi Murang'a Road. If you can, please use Wangari Maathai inaitwa Wangari Forest Road, hiyo itakusaidia. Kiambu Road, not so bad. Let's take a look at Jogoo Road and Outer Ring Road as well. Outer Ring Road, the entire stretch from Thika Highway to the Eastern Bypass is green. And Jogoo Road, yes, there's a stretch there all the way from that Buruburu Junction past Makadara as you head towards Likoni Road Junction. It's looking, there's a long stretch pale, matatu zimejaa pale. Hata pale Donholm, kabla uingie Jogoo Road pia kuna shida kidogo, lakini matatu tu Wakenya wakipanda magari kuendelea. And that's the traffic situation this morning on the main roads of Nairobi. Remember, you can interact with us through our social media pages, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. It is TV47 Digital. On X, you can use our personal handles. On X, my handle is at Freddy Ndebuli.
My handle is at Ann_Dida. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, and we'll see you after the break.
Hashtag story ni yetu.
Yeah, I'll see you.
My name is Chef Average. Today on Bachelor's Kitchen, I'm going to make a traditional ham and cheese sandwich, a favorite for many, I guess. So I've got ham here, cheese, but you could use any ham available and cheese, cheddar preferably. I've got bread, I've got tomatoes, lettuce that I'm going to put into my sandwich, salt, black pepper, and some butter as well. I pre-washed my tomatoes and lettuce. I'm just going to cut a few slices of tomato. The tomatoes and lettuce are optional. I'm just going to put a few slices of tomatoes in here. I'm just going to select a bit of lettuce. What I'm going to do next is put a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. You just have to be careful with the salt, especially on a process like this, because the cheese has a bit of salt. The ham as well has a bit of salt. I've got my mix of lettuce and tomatoes ready. I'm not going to take my bread. I'm going to butter my bread on both sides. You can actually put mustard. You could use mayonnaise as well. I need to put it on both sides because if I'm going to put it on a toaster and I need to have that nice brown color on it, I'm going to do the sandwich in two different ways. I'm going to show you how to do it in a sandwich toaster and also straight on a pan just in case you don't have a sandwich toaster. There we go. Now to the fun bit. Depending on how heavy you want your sandwich, you can put either one slice or two slices of ham. So I've got mine here with two slices of ham. This is pre-sliced cheese, readily available. Again, depends on how much cheese you like. You could actually have more cheese. I'm just going to put a bit of assorted lettuce. This is optional. Bit of tomato. More salt on top of it. Bit of pepper. There we go. So I've got my work prepped up. I'm now just going to switch on my toaster. I'll show you the other way. By using a pan as well. Just in case you don't have a toaster, you could always make your sandwich in a pan. The goodness of this particular sandwich is you could actually have it cold as well. I'll put it on medium heat, so I'm just going to wait for one side to cook and slowly turn it over while I check on the other sandwich as well. You can see the bread is nice golden brown, the cheese is melted. So this is the one from the toaster. That's the one that I did in my pan. I've got my two sandwiches ready. One that I did on a pan and the other one that I did in the sandwich toaster. So here's your ham and cheese and enjoy your meal.
Nairobi, this isn't just a game.
This is a statement.
The world is here.
And history is about to be written.
I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game.
Speed,
Power,
precision,
glory,
and TV47
owns every moment.
I'm ready to
This is more than football. It is a celebration of women, power, and purpose.
And at TV47, we are bringing you
Every thrilling moment.
It's a red card.
Every pass,
Every tackle,
every goal,
every second,
no delays,
no filters,
no missing out.
This is the FIFA Women's Series.
Raw, real, and unstoppable. Only on TV47. You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikamchoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
All right, remember that the hashtag to use is TV47 Breakfast. Of course, hashtag Story ni Yetu still on. This is TV47 Breakfast with me, Fred Ndimuli, and it's time for State of the Nation. Today, we are privileged to have in studio, beginning on my immediate left, Fwamba NC Fwamba, political commentator. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Fred.
Esther Passaris, woman representative, Nairobi County, is here with us as well. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North. Now, the main discussion, and coming from the weekend, has been, and for the past 2-3 weeks or so, is the use of goons and the rising cases of violence, especially linked to politics. This is where we want to start our conversation this morning, and let's just watch this story to set the stage for the same.
Opposition leaders under the United Alternative Government led by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Fred Matiang'i and Eugene Wamalwa took their message to a church gathering in Kajiado. The leaders accused the government of political intimidation and what they described as a growing pattern of state failure.
The unit that attacked us in Kiambu was not the local police. It is the same squad that attacked us in Wetima Church. A squad of 12 police officers ambaye uchunguzi umefanywa, walionekana walitupiga Wetima. Kasongo amesema wasishtakiwe.
Mr. President, we want to tell you ya kwamba usipoziba ufa wahenga walisema utajenga ukuta. Unless you stop this dangerous path your government is taking and promoting and actually protecting goons and using Goonism as a tool of politics, you are putting this country in grave danger.
Fred Matiang'i questioned the government's priorities, saying opposition engagements with citizens should not be treated as a security threat.
You must, even if you have a weevil in your head, how would you spend time planning to disrupt a meeting an elected leader is having with his people? Tuko na shida. I am telling you, tuko na shida. Kenya's problems have nothing to do with the people. They have everything to do with the average or mediocre leadership we have, incompetent management of the country.
Rigathi Gachagua cautioned against any harm targeting opposition figures, while also condemning the alleged use of hired goons to disrupt political rallies.
If Murkomen and his boys, one of these days, in the year misadventure and juvenile escapades, injure or kill Fred Matiang'i, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Rigathi Gachagua, that will be your last day in State House.
We are still waiting to hear Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo amejiuzulu. We are waiting. The country is waiting. And by the way, Mr. William Ruto, if you think you can keep your Principal Secretary, who is in charge of internal security, supposed to guarantee the security of citizens and their leaders, and you are keeping them there, ukisema mutadu.
The leaders also criticized the practice of mobilizing crowds through payments, terming it a sign of weakening political credibility.
Evidence of state failure. Ukiangalia serikali ikienda namna hii, hapa sasa unaona tumeanza mwisho wa mambo. Eti unalipa watu kuja kukusikia. Zamani rais akiingia mahali, watu wanawacha kila kitu, wanaenda kusikia mkubwa wa nchi. Sasa siku hizi ni kulipwa. Tulipwe uende usikizwe.
The remarks highlight rising political tensions, with opposition leaders vowing to press on with their nationwide engagements, despite what they call attempts to silence dissent.
Well, in a quick rejoinder, the two gentlemen in charge of the Interior Ministry, that's CS Kipchumba Murkomen and his PS Raymond Omolo, had this to say about the same.
Kuna shida moja inadhuru sana taifa letu. Na hiyo shida inatokana na viongozi wako na suit, wanakaa ofisi kubwa kubwa, wanataka vyeo kubwa kubwa, lakini kila siku wanapanga vijana walete vuruku kwa mikutano na walete vuruku katika taifa letu. And they are the quickest ones. Hao wanapanga goons, alafu quickly wanaenda kusimama hapo, wanataka waziri aondoke, tunataka PS aondoke, serikali imeshindwa. We must have a national consensus for all political leaders, regardless of their political direction, that we must denounce politics of violence.
There's action that is being taken, and of course I would want to wish him well. But the point is that everyone or any leader who uses goons for criminal purposes must just be held to account.
It is being described by some quarters as the expanding economy of violence, and that's where we want to start this morning. Of course, leaders now quick to throw blame and shift blame, accusing each other of being behind the violence and calling for the resignation of some. But there are serious issues that do arise. It is only about 15 months to the next election, and a few weeks, probably 2 more weeks about that. But and yet the issue about goons and political violence is not something new in Kenya. But this time round, it would appear that this, and according to one of the cartoons, that this is a new conversation, that no one is looking at proper political exchanges. It is just who has the monopoly of violence. Yes. Do you agree, Fomba, that we're down a very dicey route?
Yeah, Fred, it's really unfortunate that instead of the country focusing on policy issues and issues that really affect the common citizen, to be at the center of the campaigns, now we are discussing issues of goons. And it is, we are where we are today because of our failure to address previous mistakes. Remember that time when Mwai Kibaki was president? President Ruto, at that time, he was a member of parliament, together with Omingo Magara, were attacked in Kisii when they went to a function that was presided over by Nyachai. Unfortunately, at that time, the law was not there that was so elaborate to deal with such kind of situations. But again, there was a way it was supposed to be addressed. If such situations were taken action against at that time, then we'll not be getting to where we are today. It means we have been deteriorating progressively up to where we are. Mm-hmm. And it's a very dangerous trend because at this rate, anyone can be killed. I went to visit Honorable Ososi, who happens to be my friend in hospital, and he had really been injured seriously. Mm-hmm. So I want leaders to also understand that when it gets to a point where someone has to be afraid of his own life, that's a totally different ballgame. Mm-hmm. And we should also understand that we are all subjects to the rule of law. Goons themselves in particular should know that at some point they'll be held accountable as individuals. And when it gets to that, it will be upon them to work out and see how they can get out of the situation. And leaders, if there's anyone who is sponsoring goons at any point, he's supposed to be also equally held accountable because nobody's above the law. Again, I also want to emphasize that it's important that we do not just throw words here and there. I've seen some leaders making accusations against some other leaders without having any evidence that is tangible. They just throw words and then they point fingers without necessarily having elaborate evidence. Therefore, I want authorities in their respective positions to ensure that this issue is dealt with. For example, I do not think you will need the intervention of the cabinet secretary or the PES to ensure that there is peace in a certain locality. There are people who are there, like OCSs, they're supposed to do their job. Okay. You cannot be there presiding over violence as an OCS and then wait for the government to be blamed. Mm-hmm. I think an OCS under whose jurisdiction violence is meted against the political leaders should be transferred or should be held accountable as an individual. And
Madam Pasaris, even for a female or a woman politician, this presents an even bigger problem, the fact that anyone could use goons against you, and you've seen such cases. What do you say to this level of erosion of a democracy and freedoms?
First of all, I think we have a growing population that is unemployed. And the youth have always gone around politicians and political events because what they're looking for at that particular point is a handout, okay? I mean, this didn't start today, but it's been escalating, and it's escalating because of the growth in population and the fact that we don't have gainful employment for our youth. So let me take you to, I think, 2017, the campaigns of 2017. I went to the University of Nairobi to talk to women groups, okay, the Women's Association. And as I came out, the gates were closed. And when the gates were closed, I wanted to leave. And there was one of, I think he since he died. His name was OCS, I think. And they closed the gate and they demanded 100,000 shillings. It was a Friday, they wanted 100,000. I tried to call the OCS to say, you know, I mean, I didn't think I'm in the university grounds. I need police to know I'm here. So I just went in, I tried to call, right? But at that time we had a scenario where you couldn't, you know, if you were opposition, you couldn't even call the police and ask for assistance. You couldn't even, you know, when we were chased around Nairobi, I mean, how many times did Sifuna and myself drive into police stations after we finish a rally because we're being chased by motorbikes? And it's so dangerous. How many youth have died falling off cars or falling off motorbikes, high speed? It's like it's the adrenaline. It's what they do. And it's grown and escalated because of population. So at that point, believe you me, I had to find money, all right, to get out of the university. So this is escalating. So the question is, I have events. And in my events, I always inform the OCS. I always inform, you know, the administration. I'm having an event. They will be there. But the police, even if there are 10 policemen who will come for that event, when the youth, you know, when we call them goons, these are young Kenyans. When the youth come, they will outnumber the police. You don't want tear gas. You don't want the youth shot. You cannot have, you know, it's an event, it's a public event, if it's in a school, for instance. So the thing is, we've learned over the years to know that this group, you know, I can have an event in Mathare. It's not just the youth of Mathare who will be in that event. It'll be the youth across Nairobi. And each one has their leaders. So what you have to do...
But there's a difference between an amorphous group of youth in that general area and vis-a-vis a team that is paid just to do that job, to come and disrupt and cause violence.
You see, I had this experience once, I think when we were having the elections in, again, 2017, where they went, a group of ODM youth, right, went and thought that it was right for them to disrupt a meeting in Uhuru Park that was happening with Honorable Shebesh. And at that point, I called them because I got to know about it. I apologized to Honorable Shebesh and I told her this is wrong. This should not have happened. And I called my youth and I said, if I ever hear that you're going to disrupt any meeting of any of my opponents, right, you will never ever be in my...
And you've said something very interesting.
Yes.
My youth.
My youth.
Yes, it would appear it is the ownership is with the politicians. That each politician means
because I know, let me
group.
tell you what, I know the ODM youth, all right? And I know that they're strong and passionate about our party. But I actually said to them, I said, if you go and disrupt, because I knew the guys who went, all right? And I said, if you go and disrupt my opponent's meeting ever again, right, you will not be in my team. You will not offer me the security. You know, they come in and they say they're offering us security. So once I did that, and I apologized to Shebesh, it never happened again. So I agree with what C.S. Murkomen is saying, that we as leaders have to call the youth that are with us to stop this. Yes. But then what we saw in Nairobi, when we had the demonstrations, right, we saw another group and we saw accusations that they were affiliated with the governor, all right? And then, you know, for me, I feel we as leaders have to be very clear that, you know, if we pit youth against each other, it's going to get nasty, you know. So first of all, the leaders have to stop engaging youth to disrupt meetings of other opponents.
Yes. But Nagakuya, you've been in this business in Nairobi for a while now. You're serving your third term in the National Assembly. The use of goons, especially in urban areas, is so prevalent. But as Madam Pasari says, the ownership of these groupings traces back to the politicians. Do you agree that politicians are the ones to blame for this escalation of violence?
Thank you, Dimuli. Allow me to salute viewers wherever they are watching this morning show. And coming to the matter, I would like to say on this onset that it's a very nasty growing behavior that if action is not taken at this particular moment, then we will be, the youths or goons may control or take control of the city and every other gathering that will be happening. And it's a very bad route that we are taking. One, let me say, there has to be a divination, because these are two different sides. There is gangs paid for that have been planted to do a particular mission. And let us take a concern like Wetima attack on church. That we must say, there was involvement of police. Because even at that particular moment in time, GK was there and carrying what we call soldiers. And that you cannot say that actually this is the GK carries a variant. So a GK must have carrying what you call police officers. And in that particular case, you see, that was a proper planned mission. That which is completely different from attacks that may alive with what we call various camps of political camps. And I want to say that we're clear that, in fact, this behavior is there. And our youths, because of what my colleague has stated, lack of jobs, it has made youth to become very rampant. And every particular single gathering or political gathering anywhere, they will just intrude and they will just create themselves as what security team. And at the end of the day, they should demand. And in this case, this is the demand from whoever is organizing that particular meeting. And these, therefore, these are not youth set to come to disturb. They just want to.
Have you ever found in your campaigns the need to have a group of youth work with you because of security?
In fact, nobody should. The nature of the meetings is that every single meeting you have to have people that actually are manning. Just make sure that everything is in order.
Okay.
And but those are known, because you have to pick the youths that you know can take control of a particular meeting. But there are those who intrudes and force themselves in, and then take control and make a very serious demand at the end. But some of those youths we are used to, and we know how to handle. Because actually, as she has explained, still in my campaign trips, there are those whom I know. And since I know them, I know they are leaders. And by the time of exiting, I know how to handle them. Just to cool them. It is hunger. And let me tell you, you must know how to handle these people. And as she has explained, this for sure, it is a lack of job. And that's what they are looking is just for something to eat for that particular day. So they are forcing themselves so that that's what you see. They hang even to a very high risk in our on our vehicles, that they can even take a risk. They don't care. But what we want is that before he leaves, he gets something.
Yes.
That's the serious nasty point of it. Okay. And to control it is very hard. But what the youth that the goons we are talking about, which must be controlled, are goons that are planned to take a particular mission. Goons like those who attacked Ososi in Kisumu, goons that attacks Witima Church, goons that attacks Kariobangi Church. Those were goons who are set on a mission. Yes. Goons that attacked PCA Church in Kasarani, because those were sent goons for particular mission. Those are the goons we are saying. We should know who are the main goon controllers, because if these goons are not paid for a mission, they cannot come to attack. Right. There has to be somebody somewhere who is contributing this.
And you mentioned about accountability, that fine, even the goons need to know, just before you go on a break, that they will be held to account. But we rarely get to see that, where even individuals who engage in obvious criminality are taken to court or anything like that. Don't you think that we've already lost the plot? That we like, for example, there's a video doing rounds online, a Nairobi politician sitting in a room with some young people and anawaambia mimi sitaki watu waoga, nataka watu wanaweza dunga watu visu.
And that is very dangerous. I think the position I hold is that everybody should be equal before the law. And I think Mheshimiwa Gakuya's team is a good example, because when they were in government, there are a lot of things that happened and they were cheering them on. Now that they are out of government, they are becoming victims of some of the situations that we were facing when we were in our Azimio demonstrations. Remember the time of Azimio demonstrations, there was a time Raila's vehicle was targeted with live bullets. He counted up to about 7 bullets. And Honorable Gachagwa's friend, Mheshimiwa Gachagua, was cheering on and saying that this is the time now to get rid of Raila completely. Now, the issue is on another foot. And they feel that any kind of organized goonship is bad.
Are you supporting any of that?
I'm not supporting. I'm only saying that everybody should be held accountable at any given time, and every person should come out to denounce goonship.
Do you feel that
whether
people are being held to account?
Out of government.
Now that's the question. Have you ever seen anyone held to account because of this kind of political violence?
I think there's always a beginning point, and I think right now we are really watching those people who attacked Honorable Ososi. Like they say, they have arrested 3 of them. We have seen on the CCTV there are about 20. We expect that all of those people get arrested and get held accountable, and they be used as an example to other goons, so that anytime a goon is arrested, he's held individually accountable, and at that point, he'll also be able to name the person who sent him, so that that person can also be held on the basis of having a higher criminal culpability. If we do not deal with that right now, everybody will become a victim of this situation. The way you are seeing Gachagua now crying that is being targeted, when just a few years ago when he was in government, he was the one cheering on goons to attack people.
And after the break, of course, we'll be back. But Gakuya, I know you'd want to respond to some of the things he says. And we'll also be sampling some of your views. Keep interacting with us on all our social media pages. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, TV47 Digital on X. Let's sample some of your views before we take a break.
My name is Levi Mulas and I'm watching from Nairobi. On the issue of politics of Goonism, we must call it out as it is. Simply a failure of leadership. When young people are mobilized to disrupt, intimidate, or cause chaos, it means we are misdirecting the energy of a generation that should be building the economy. We cannot talk about creating opportunities for youth, then turn around and use the same youths as tools for violence and for political intimidation. If we want a better Kenya in 2027 and beyond, we must reject Goonism and invest in young people as partners in progress.
Levi Mulasia, thank you so much for that voice note, and I'll be asking my panelists to respond to that after the break. You're watching TV47 Breakfast. We'll be right back.
Nakuru, are you ready? Kaa tayari tukuletee roadshow ya elimu ya kifedha kwa hisani ya Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, KDIC. Kuanzia tarehe 13 hadi 15 Aprili, jumuika nasi katika maeneo ya Mai Mahiu, Kinungi, Kayole, Lake Area, Naivasha Town, Gilgil, Kiko Bay, Free Area, Ondamali, Shabab, Kaptembwa, Main Market, Nakuru Main Stage, Total Junction, Molo, Elbagon na Njoro Town. Pia tutakuwa na kikao Town Hall kwenye TV47 on 16th April. Tukutane ujue mengi kuhusu Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, KDIC, shirika la serikali lenye bima ya kulinda hazina za Wakenya kwenye benki. Tembelea tovuti www.kdic.go.ke au piga simu 0709-043-000 kwa maelezo zaidi. KDIC, safer, stronger, together.
You're probably wondering how I got here. This was me. Nimeboeka. Then nika buy B-Lifetime bundle. My 1 hour kuwa online bila wasi. And my time from just kawa ikakuwa lit. Nika go live really nice na TikTok, IG, Snap na nika hang na Memorial. Manzo ukiwa na B-Life, time is on your side. Hadi beats in a slap you different. Nikaanza kuzitoka, nika trend online, kushuka match tu hivi. Mafans wakatokea, tukajiaji. Buy the new B-Lifetime bundle. Dial *544#.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business. Cheki. Na leo mkorada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona, hii ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya kimono.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi kanichoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
All right, welcome back and good morning once again. This is TV47 Breakfast with me, Freddie Ndimuli, still in studio with Fwamba NC Fwamba, political commentator, Esther Passaris, woman representative, Nairobi, and James Gakuya, MP, Embakasi North. We continue discussing issues of violence, especially linked to political contestation, and we've been sampling some of your views. Let's get one more voice note.
I'm watching you from Suboti, Bungoma County. I will talk about the political Goonism. Political Goonism has taken shape in the today's politics, where politicians are ferrying goons to places they are attending meetings, and some are using goons to attack innocent people. I want to first of all condemn the act of Goonism in today's politics and urge our young people to refuse being used as.
Fred Mokua there, asante sana for your views. But we've listened to those two voice notes, Madam Passaris, and it's clear, even the youth identify where the problem is, that it is the politicians who hire them for whatever end. And the issue is, the main point of politics is to make life easier for everyone, provide employment, provide a better life. Don't you feel that, yes, it is the politicians who have already failed the youth and then are now using them for other things?
Okay, you know, I feel that we need to address this issue also with the police force. Right? This incident that happened with Asotsi, right? And you have clear clips, right? If no arrest is made, no sentence is done, but, you know, no bail is given, because you have, you know, for me, I always feel that sometimes we've got the three arms of government, right? So in terms of legislation, I think we have clear legislation. In terms of budgets, we have provided clear budgets for the police, you know, and then in terms of, for me, if, for instance, if people get away with doing wrong, right, then they will continue doing wrong. So I would like to see everybody that was involved in the recent attack and all the other attacks. I have the same problem with femicide. You know, we have people out there who have murdered women, right? And we know who was the primary suspect, and he's out on bail. And then the case will take years. And this woman is living with the fact that she lost her child, or she lost a mother, you know. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, the long arm of government has to be seen to be doing the right thing, and the judiciary also has to be seen to be doing the right thing. Right? And the only way to see that, right, and to create fear for breaking the law is to have them arrested, to have them charged, and to have them jailed. So we need the investigation to be watertight. I believe that we have a DCI that can actually do a job that, equipped to do the right job. We've got forensics, so if they fail to make the arrest, and then we fail to charge them, and we fail to jail them, and we come out openly about it. For me, you should have a snapshot right now. The minute the incident of Asotsi happened, there should have been pictures already out or rewards already offered to lead to the arrest. The police should be able to pick these people and arrest them. I think that the police needs to show us, and I show us exactly, these are the femicide cases we've had in the last 2 years, or 3 years, or 10 years, and these are the ones we've solved. So that accountability is not there. These are the people that we've seen attack churches, attack
But
political
don't you find
meetings.
that very reactionary, that we wait for these things to happen, then we hope the police will do something without addressing the root problem? It's youth unemployment, and you began with that. What are the politicians, what is our politics doing towards addressing that?
Okay, so the fact is, you've got Parliament, right? Parliament creates the enabling environment through legislation and budgets for government to be able to perform. So for me, I feel that when you look at Kenya right now, right, we've got investor confidence, right? But every election cycle, we lose investors, all right, because of the things that happen around our country, right? Even when you look at the demonstrations we had in 2024 or 2025, a lot of people lost their businesses. When they lose their businesses, people lose their jobs. I have a simple woman who here on Landis Road had a beautiful chicken shop, and she had all the equipment. She was employed a lot of people. We have somebody else in Naivasha who had a whole supermarket, and then because of demonstrations, everything was destroyed, and then the jobs were lost. So for me, I feel we need peace, right? We need to make sure that we attract investors, and then as a government itself, we need to create opportunity. So I look at the government right now, and the opportunities created in terms of construction, the opportunities created in terms of in the housing sector, in terms of employing teachers. So government is doing that, but the fact is we're not growing as fast as the population has grown, right? We've not grown as fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wanagakuya, now it's turned into a blame game. That a lot of people, and I know when Fwambi here tried making it us versus them debate. But this violence even exists within parties themselves. There are rivalries within individual parties, especially even as you approach the party primaries, that people within the same parties may still have reason to use goons to fight their rivals within the same parties. Do you think that even politicians or the political class are reducing this debate into a political game of who is to blame instead of actually focusing on the problem?
First and foremost, Idumuli, let us agree that policies are there to make sure that actually the country is peace, and the necessary bodies of security that are supposed to provide security are there. And we have not heard from those agencies saying that they have an adequate team or officers to do the necessary job. But what we are missing is that we are lacking goodwill, and even in those agencies that we have, because you realize that in fact things can be on a hectic manner, and criminality just happening around the police station, and nothing is happening. And we have a culture now that has grown, that even police have allowed themselves to be used. You realize that in fact today, we have political parties that are well guarded by our constitution, which has a right to hold their meetings. And probably that, but there is no single moment when we can start to say there is zones that are secured and that anybody cannot move, because we have free movement in Kenya, and every single person can be anywhere in this Republic of Kenya, as much as it's Kenyans. Any political party can hold a rally anywhere in Kenya. But if there is intimidation, using police officers to tear gas and make sure that some people cannot hold meetings at certain areas, this creates chaos. And this chaos, at the end, at Terroid, you realize that in actual public at some point gets hurt or even die out of this. So we are using other police to do a necessary job, because those are not the risks, and those are not threats. But we are moving threats where they are not. We need to know squarely, where are the criminals, so that we deal with the criminals. But I'm telling you, we have youths that are not criminals, but out of hunger, out of lack of job, they are looking for a daily bread. And therefore, wherever they understand that there is a politician within the locality, they will just gang there, so that at least they can get something at the tail. But what we are saying is that as a country, we must drive our effort to make sure that we open the country and create more spaces for job. Because as my colleague is stating, it is true. We have over 70% of youths that are jobless. And to control jobless men, know that when people are jobless, they are idle. And when they are idle, they are devil's workshop. And those devil's workshop, the only things on where can we get something to manage our day, to make our day bread. And I will state that together as a nation, we should not start blaming each other, but we should bring a confirmation. Who do you do going forward to make sure that our youths are no longer idle? We should, as a nation, think if we can be able to return back kazi mitaani so that youths can get something to do. Yes. Because when they have something to do, they are not in those chaotic actions and they are busy somewhere else. Okay. If it is an area of our industrialization which is dying, we must ask ourselves, why are we not flourishing in our manufacturing where jobs are created? And those are the areas that we should tackle and ask ourselves, how do we get to those areas that we want to export our people to work? Because in those countries, they are youths, and makes that the youths are already absorbed, and still there is space for others. So that is what we need to ask ourselves. Right. And I think that's the conversation we might put on the table. But if we start blaming each other, we are not going to make any solution, but we are only escalating the problem, and the problem is not going to end up tomorrow. Yes. Finally, government itself cannot tell us that it does not have capacity to trail criminals. If criminals like those who attacked Betima Church, criminals that those attacked Kariobangi PCA Church, criminals that those attacked Kasarani PCA Church, and you are telling me the cameras has captured them, but you are telling us you cannot be able to trace them. It's like they have vanished to Somalia or Uganda. It is wrong, because we have seen another day in this particular CBD where goons were walking with the djembe sticks, and they were being escorted by what we call trucks of police. Then and they are mugging civilians in the watch of the police. What do you want to tell us? If then the police can bed with criminals, where do you expect this country to be? Right. So we must bring this level of insecurity. And who is now missing on his job? One is the security officers, and the in-charge IG seems not to be in their control. Yes. Because nothing should be happening underneath. And your team, you cannot call them out.
Yes, and indeed, as we make the final word on this, Fwamba, I did not escape my notice that you were quick to defend some of the top security leadership in this country. And the question is, don't you think that they are to some extent culpable of this? Even as you think about that, I'd like to request our viewers to continue sending us voice notes and even videos, short videos about 30 to 40 seconds long, giving us your feedback, and send them to our WhatsApp number, which will be on our screen in a short time, so that we can also sample your views. But Bwana Fwamba,
I was not defending them. I was only saying that any allegations that come out must be based on evidence.
But do you agree that police, to a huge extent, they should be held culpable?
And that's why I say accountabilities are different levels. For example, if an OCS in Kisumu has failed to arrest goons who attacked Senator Ososi, you cannot blame that on the cabinet secretary or the IG or the PS. The OCS at that point is supposed to do his job. We must hold everybody accountable at his own level. There's another point that I wanted to make before we get to the break about the issue of unemployment versus criminality. I think there are so many unemployed youth who are not necessarily criminals. And that should not be an excuse that unemployment is the reason as why goons are emerging. Goons are emerging because of lack of discipline and lack of respect of the rule of law, something that as a country must come together and ensure that we are there to the rule of law, because that's the only thing that makes us safe and equally subject to the law. If we use that as an excuse that there is unemployment, it's not a new thing. There is unemployment all over the world. And in any case, during President Ruto's regime, he has made some progress in terms of addressing that issue. So we must separate the issue of the youth in general terms, and then the goons who are just criminals who are out to cause harm. And sometimes these goons are not necessarily owned by one individual. They are there for hire. You will hire them today, they go and commit a crime. Tomorrow, you'll be vulnerable, unable to pay them, and the opponent will hire them to come and beat you up. So this is something that politicians should join hands from all divides, all political divides, to ensure that we eliminate this kind of nonsense, so that we deal with the issues. That if you are looking for an elective position, like if you want to challenge your opponent, challenge that person on the issues. It's so unfortunate that we are trying to get towards the elections in the name of trying to advance our manifesto. And then instead of discussing issues that affect wananchi, now the whole country is having a conversation around criminals and around goons, making them to look so important. And yet there are people who are supposed to be in jail.
Okay.
Not being subject of our discussions here.
Yes, Madam President.
Yeah, okay, so, I just went to the DCI because, we say the Kenya police and then you've got the DCI, right? So it's not the OCS and his team that are going to make the arrest, it's the DCI. And I've seen 3 days ago, the DCI actually said that the suspects have been arrested on the Geoffrey Asotsi case, and the pictures are there and they're going to be arraigned in court. Now, for me, I believe that the police are very clear that these are the suspects. The police have already made the arrest. The police are going to present them in court. I really, we did something. We adopted the Bill of Rights and into our constitution, and we allow even murderers who we have clear evidence to be, every offense is bailable. So I think we need to reach a point where certain offenses are not bailable. And I've seen some judges and magistrates making the discretion of not giving bail for whatever reason, but majority are giving bail. So we need to obviously look at that law, and of course it will be a constitutional amendment, so it will require a referendum. So by adopting the Bill of Rights, and I saw the President Ramaphosa of South Africa recently gave an executive order and said any offense to do with sexual gender-based violence where a woman is killed, raped, will not be bailable. You'll be locked up. So we need to figure out how we get around the Bill of Rights and the right of every citizen to bail, no matter the crime. But they've done that. But I would like to see this for every other case, whether opposition or government, every case of violence, the people that were identified should be actually charged. And the thing is, I want to tell the youth, I need to speak to the youth. If you were hired, do not allow yourself to go to jail alone. Say who hired you. Show the evidence of how you were hired. Because we need to both get the one who's hiring them and the youth who's hired. Because, everybody has to be accountable for their crime. So the one who hired, it's like we say, when it comes to corruption, it's the giver and the taker. So we need the same thing. It's the one who hired. And we need to see a few leaders. You said there was a clip circulating where somebody's asking for the goons who are tough and big. And, I really feel that person, right, should already be arrested, all right, whoever it is, because you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't play and prey on youth who are unemployed. You can't be part and parcel of criminal activities. It's against the law.
Yes. Yet when it comes to accountability, it is very easy for the CS to protect or defend his PS instead of actually attending to these matters which, if left unchecked, could lead to a crisis. Don't you think that we've gotten to a point where it is easier to defend criminality than attend to the problem?
The worst thing is that the process of doing an investigation, basically under the jurisdiction of IG and his team. But you see, where the political element is coming and doing damage is where, after a particular investigation done and conclusively answers are on the table, before action is taken, you find a scenario where somebody like CS or PS takes a phone, calls the IG, and tells that file should not be taken, that file should be closed. Orders from above. That is somewhere that most of these cases come to hit a snag. And we need to call out those who are in charge. Because like cases of Wetima, that investigation was done. Officers were after the investigation, they were identified, the officers were identified, and the file was taken to the IG. But that file was never taken to DPP. It was stopped. And it was stopped from powers from those above. As we are saying, influence from above is also making investigations a hit snag and giving also the investigators a hard time because they should be left to do their job. And where the CS or PS should be coming in is where there is a necessity. But there, the rest, the work has to be left to the staffs that are assigned to those particular job. And when they make a report, I think the obvious is that it's the political in charge is to give a goodwill so that that particular charge can take place.
Right.
But when we get issues that have been well calculated, well investigated, reports are on the table, and then you tell somebody stop that process. Then that is closing the doors of justice.
All right. And thank you so much for our viewers as you continue giving us your feedback to the kind of discussion we're having. 16 months to election. Politics appears to have taken a very ugly face and turn, and now it's turning very violent. And what would this mean to the new aspirants or aspiring politicians who have to deal with this, and especially the women politicians? Let's continue sampling some of your views. We have one more.
Good morning. My name is Eunice. I'm watching from Kitale. I just want to comment on the issue of Goonism. I mean, I feel we are losing it as a country, and it's high time that the government takes up its position, because why are they pretending that like they don't know the people who plan these people? They have the machinery to know nani wanapanga Goonism, nani wanafanya nini. So let them not pretend. I mean, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, and keep it coming. Remember, you can send us a video, a short video or a voice note on WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is there on your screen, 0793 267 279. You can also share it on our different social media pages. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, TV47 Digital on X. Remember, the hashtag now is TV47 Breakfast. And of course, you can still use the hashtag Story Nietu, because indeed, Story Nietu. It's closely linked with the issue of violence is, and you mentioned this, that even political discourse no longer addresses, and this is goes out to check the level of quality of discourse that we have, that we are no longer addressing the problems. The main point of why we have politics. We're no longer discussing the problems of unemployment, of teenage pregnancies and high cost of living. It is all about who will win the contest. And that's why politicians now go to extreme ends to ensure they win, not because of how they're going to address the issues, but the end justifies the means. And in this case, I'm talking about political tokenism, where resources are employed just to ensure you pacify the masses enough for them to vote for you. Don't you think that that is also a problem? And this was amplified yesterday by one. Let's listen to what some politicians have said about this, then we can continue the conversation.
Kwamba Rais William Ruto apewe heshima yake, akienda pahali asikizwe, akimaliza aende. Todo mugani neke. Kwa hivyo nataka kutoa mwelekeo kama kiongozi wa jamii. Nisisikie ngwe.
Sorry, we went off a bit there because I was talking about issue of tokenism. It was mentioned yesterday by former CS Fred Matiang'i in church in Kajiado. That now for politicians, it used to be back in the day that whenever a politician showed up somewhere, people would just come out organically and listen to them. But now it is what they're going to gain from that. So the relationship between the masses and politicians and their level of politics is not about the eventual gain, about their lives will improve. It's about how much am I going to gain today.
So Fred, based on that point, we realize that as a country we're a victim of our own behavior. Because the moment we started commercializing politics, that's where the rain started beating us. And as a result, we have had very poor quality leadership, and sometimes, especially in the parliament, you'll find some people who are not very well versed with the work they're supposed to do. And instead of that, because of the money they used to get elected, they think that being in parliament means tokenism, giving out handouts. In fact, I think there's a time I had a member of parliament who said that his business is not to be in parliament. His business is to be busy with the wananchi out there giving them money. He forgets that philanthropy can be done with or without you being an elected leader. And that is exactly how Kenyans have misunderstood leadership to be about. So the moment you will wake up and start dealing with the issues and forget about commercialization of politics, that we elect you because you have given us money instead of electing you because understanding that you have the right mindset, the right thinking, you have the right attitude towards the position you are looking for, then we'll still be having a very big problem. So I think it's a wake-up call that going towards 2027, the voters at all levels should know that they should elect people on the basis of their competence. If they get into a situation whereby they elect on the basis of how much someone has given them in terms of cash, then we'll still be having this problem persisting from time to time.
You see that happening because the level of voter we have right now does not appear to care much about
and that will mean that we'll continue losing our country. If people don't wake up and say that now, let us think and have a certain threshold that is dictated within the constitution, so that if we are electing someone, for example, right now we have a PhD holder as a president. He has gone through several levels of school that can enable him run the country. Those are the skills we're talking about. We have a professor who is a deputy president. So if we get to elections, we must consider those factors also. How much or how well schooled are you in terms of competence that
does it really matter? Yesterday, the president,
if we fail to do that,
be a PhD holder.
You'll end up having people who have no idea about leadership.
Because the president hosted a group
the only excuse they use, Fred, is hoodwinking people using money.
Yes. And you mentioned the president, he has a PhD and he is able to do this or the other, and he's talked a lot about that. But even when he hosts people at State House, the discussion immediately after that is how much they got from that visit, not really what the president will do for them. Don't you think that that is where the problem lies?
Okay, so let me tell you, this did not start with William Samoei Ruto's government. I got into politics from 2007. When you have a town hall meeting, when you call people together, the expectation always here is that they will need their transport to go back. You've taken them out of their daily wages. Maybe they're working in stalls, whatever. So they're coming to listen to you, to talk about an agenda, to talk about what I want to do for you. So they expect the transport. But I'll tell you, the biggest problem I see here is that we're not being very honest with ourselves. When I first got elected, okay, so I started my politics from 2007, 2008, 2013. Town hall meetings, if you have money, you give. Sometimes, and Kenyans, if you don't have, they're okay. So you saw if somebody gave 500 shillings, you're ridiculed. Why are you giving so little? So this has been the nature of our politics. There is an expectation. You see, for our democracy to grow, we need members of political parties to contribute. Now you find even politicians paying for you to become a member of the party. So we need to grow there in that space where you become a member of a party, you pay the premium, you work as a leader or as a member to grow your party because you believe in its ideology. So you look at America, you've got independents, you've got Democrats, and you've got Republicans. You're the ones actually keeping your party alive. All right, you're the ones funding. When Barack Obama wanted to run for president, it was the citizens who wanted Barack to become the president, who would give even $1, $10, $1 million. They will give it within the law, right? Because you want that man to become the leader. But here, it's completely different. It's you won my vote. You know, somebody would actually send you a message. Nilikupigia kura tangu uingie ofisini. You've not done anything for me. So I say, you know, I'm doing the job that I'm supposed to do. I have a fund. I make sure it reaches the people. It cannot reach everyone. I have. I come into the parliament. I argue about the issues that affect you. I approve budgets for the issues that affect you. But no, when I first got into office, I started getting phone calls. I've got a funeral. I've got a marriage. You know, somebody's telling me I'm getting, now I give them lectures. I tell them, listen, keep your funeral budget small, right? you know, but there is expectations. The very, very vulnerable, as I said, we've got poverty, we've got unemployment. So you can't tell a woman who's calling you, I have a lady who wants glaucoma drops because the government doesn't provide glaucoma drops. If I don't buy her the glaucoma drops, I feel she's going to go blind.
Don't you think this is a dilution of the entire reason why we have politics?
No, but the thing is, let me tell you something. Before we catch on, before we reach a point where at least one family member is an income generator and is able to sustain the family, but the family unit has become too big. Before, you know, like for me, I have family members who depend on me. All right. And the reason they depend on me is because they have no sustainable income. So I already have my own family, but then on top of it, I've got now my electorate who consider me their mother. So there are certain cases that you cannot ignore. So you now need to start, I mean, I'm always begging, I'm always asking people for money to help really needy cases. So for me, there's many kinds of tokenism.
And you appear to have gotten very comfortable as a politician, getting into that space.
Let me tell
that is your role as a politician.
Because if you don't do that, you get voted out.
No, hold on. No, for me, it's not. There are two parts to it. All right. If you know of somebody who has died and they have no money, like yesterday, yesterday we celebrated International Day of the Street Children and Families. They came to me and they told me, we have so many street children who have died. We have got the waiver from City Mortuary, but we don't have the money for the coffins. So now I want to get the number and I want to make sure that we can buy the coffins and we can bury those street families. So for me, you know, that's why you see most politicians have got foundations to be able to raise money and do something. So there is the part where they expect goodwill from you as a politician. So that is there. And then there's the part where you call them for a town hall meeting and you have to give them something. And I think it's wrong to say that when people come to State House, for instance, so I've been to a lot of State House events, and I really, really commend the president for opening out State House to bring different sectors of people to dialogue. You know, we were saying we want to get into State House, it's our place. Today, State House, every Kenyan has been to State House and had a discussion with the president on their various issues. And I think that is good. We've had we've had
But you must agree the discussion after that is how much people
No,
got
let me tell you, that is now the propaganda that you want to take out. But the issues, like you're there as media. Come on, I mean, you're there as media. The president opens it out. You're there for the discussion.
The president
you
is...
see what was discussed.
The president has begun
issues
his
are
tour of
discussed. If they get transport to go back home,
Yes.
I mean, you can't go and see
Gakuya,
the president and walk out with
the president has begun his trip to Kisii yesterday, a 4-day trip, and today is going to be there. And we have videos of one of the MPs dishing out money in preparation to mobilize people around it. That's not really the issue. But it would appear that all levels of the political class are very comfortable with this. They find the necessity for tokenism. Don't you think that that's a dilution of your job? Even as a legislator, that probably you and your colleagues are more focused on how much you can give your constituents and not really the main job that you're given. Don't you think that by doing that, you're exacerbating the problem?
In fact, what I would say, Idimuri, is that if you want to cure a problem, the best stage to start whipping is from the top downward. Because if the State House opens the door for dishing out tokenism, then it has open door up to the MC.
That's where you get your permission from.
Of course, you see. You know, people are watching things happening. And they are now aware that whenever you step into the City House, you can come back home with 5,000 envelope or so. Then, how do you expect the same person, when he is at the level of a senator or a governor or an MP, to get home empty? Because they all understand that politicians are money makers. And I don't know why, because a politician is always seen as an ATM. And it is wrong. But this culture is a culture that already we are in. And if we want to heal it, we must stop it from the top. Going down, it can be healed. But if the top is open, then there is no way that you can close the door at the bottom, because the thread is the same, the behavior is the same. What I would think is that because it's a culture that started with Moi, and since then it has been growing, and now it has become a mega. It is very hard because it has become a culture. So unless we now take a serious measure to curb it, but it is too hard for it. First, we must fight with the poverty. Because when the poverty is at this level, then that widow still will be there.
Because the main reason for politics is to alleviate the suffering of the people.
Listen to me. Assume you have your laws within the Constitution. Those laws, sometimes it is more advantage than me. Because Hakite can be able to assist anybody. And then he can justify through the necessary document. The CDF, you cannot. It is locked. You cannot directly give somebody something to get out of a particular problem. But what do you do? Because the same person will come to me, and you want to get back, because assume there's what we call a medical bill. If you cannot sort a problem from a medical bill, then what a member are you? And that's how these voters reason. And it's like it is your burden. You must help us. And because at your level, from God, it is not you.
I need to correct something on my kitty.
Just before I give you an opportunity, let's hear some of your feedback on what you think about this discussion, the politics of tokenism and where it's leading us.
Tokenism is actually the one thing that is ailing our politics, because we believe that for someone to be useful to us, they have to give us something first. And that is also what is driving the goon economy. You know, the person whose pockets are deepest is the person who has influence over the unemployed youth of a particular area to go and use them to cause mayhem. Therefore, tokenism is dangerous. And where we are headed with the desperation that Kenyans have over the glaring unemployment, the rising cost of living, tokenism will become inevitable. I have been John Waweru from Juja.
Thank you, John, and that's the kind of feedback. Before I come to you, you wanted to clarify something about
okay. He talked about my kitty. So I'm a patron of the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. It was a fund created to be able to reach the most marginalized communities. We don't give out loans, we give out grants. So you have to be an organized, registered group to get a grant. We give out bursaries. Our bursaries are it's like 2 million shillings per constituency per year, whereas they get about 70 or so million shillings for the constituency. And then we also have something for projects, and we have something for value addition. If you're running a business, we give you money. So that's affirmative action, and it's grants, but we don't have money within that for any personal issues.
But it sounds more like we are formalizing this tokenism, whether we call it Affirmative Action Fund, even the CDF, even the Nyota Fund.
As an African society,
yes,
we are supposed to be generous. We are supposed to share whatever we have, whether you are an elected person or not. But back then, after Moi's exit, President Mwai Kibaki became president. And remember, Koigi Wamwere pushed seriously the issue of harambes. At that time, harambes were being used as conduits for corruption, that people would want to steal money from the government and use harambes to endear themselves towards the electorate. So I think with the current laws that we have established, we have devolution, we have structures through which Kenyans can develop. I think it will be in order that we use those structures. Because anytime we are promoting this tokenism, it will mean that people will be competing on who is bribing voters more than the other to get elected. And that should be based on national consensus. That based on the laws that we have, if we follow them strictly, then we'll avoid all these challenges of tokenism that is leading to goonship and causing criminality that is affecting even the leaders themselves. There are some point, if you are a leader organizing today, goons to beat up your opponent, and then tomorrow, you fail to pay those goons, the goons will come for you. And instead of beating you up, they might kill you. Because I've repeated this thing because I saw a sausage situation, and I really wondered where we are getting to as a country. And if tokenism is the basis of all these problems, it is something that people must agree on, especially in terms of leadership. And Parliament, since we have 2 members of Parliament here, have a role to ensure that this thing is dealt with You can address it from a legislative point of view.
Yes.
To buttress the laws that we already have, so that anyone who is found in this has got some kind of interventions that ensure that they are held accountable.
And have you ever asked yourself why we even bother with politics? Why do we find the need for politics in our society? Why do we have politicians? Yes? Once you understand the basis of politics, then you miss the point when you start addressing it through tokenism and Goonism. Madam Pasaris.
Yeah, you know, there is a book that was written in over 100 years ago by Wallace D. Wattle. It's The Science of Getting Rich, and it's available free online. And one of the things that I read there is that it is better to have a bad government than no government, all right? Because when you don't have a government, you have total anarchy. So let us understand that you need governments, all right, to bring order. And let us also celebrate our government, because, you know, it is our government, all right? And it is, without it, we would have total chaos, total anarchy. So for me, I believe that we are not probably getting an A, but we're working towards an A.
That admission says a lot, that the level of government we have and what we should be expecting from it is probably not the best. What do you feel about that? Why do we even get into politics in the first place if it's all about Goonism and tokenism?
Well, let me say, Idimuli, what we are doing is that we have taken it wrong. Because our expectations of having government is to have efficiency, effectiveness. That makes things are moving. And noting that this is a delegation, the power is for the sovereignty is for the people. And they delegate power to people so that they can have representative. I think that representative should work towards the vision of the common monarchy. And I think if the government could have doing what is right, this country could not have at the point it is. Because we are in the ditch because on our early days, during Jomo Kenyatta, if you can check the records, it tells you this country economically was so rich. But we came, and at the times of Moi, then the country came getting down and dropping from its rate to where we are now. At the stage we are, if you can check about back in 1885, you find that the dollar was changing at 6 bob, and pound was at 20. Today, things at a point where you can, even though you have 100 shilling today, it's like you're having nothing. And what I would condemn is that the mistakes that other governments have done, we are not collecting when we take over. And I think if we can get another Kibaki, because Kibaki tried to take the country to control and back to order. And if we can have somebody of that kind of that leadership, I think the country can be somewhere near where we expect. But I can tell you for sure, one, corruption is a big obstacle to what we call to achieve the goals that we may need. And that's why we realize that, in fact, the level of unemployment is too high, because we have not turned our mind towards solving that problem. But if we can take our mind towards what are we going to deal with our mass, because we have people leaving universities, colleges every year, but where they are going, they are not absorbed anywhere. And that stagnancy is what making the country to be so stiff that we have a very high population, but it is jobless. It is idle.
Before I give you a chance for your final comments, just a moment.
I think the best
let's sample some of your views, then I'll come back to you. I'll give you an opportunity for your final comments. Our views from our viewers.
I actually believe that in Kenya, we are heavily influenced by the policy of tokenism, because all the high people, all the people, the powerful people in high places, if you look closely, if you take your time to investigate even the largest government bodies, the people who get there, they usually get there through connection, because we have people who are highly learned, people who have gone to school, did their degree, masters, and still they can't be able to afford an opportunity. But there is someone who probably only did a degree and has a job that requires you to have probably a master's degree. So it comes to the point whereby you really feel like, yes, it does exist. And unfortunately, it is the harsh reality of the world that however good you are, if you are not connected enough, if you do not have the right network of people around you, then there's really nowhere you can like possibly go to the highest level. Yes, you'll be able to eat, you'll be able to have money for fuel, but you will be able to achieve that kind of success whereby we call you highly successful. So yes, unfortunately, the policy of Tokenism does exist in Kenya and all over the world. But in Kenya, it comes down to the political powerful and especially those who are very, very rich.
As you make your final comments, the gentleman who's just talks about the disillusionment, especially among younger Kenyans, that unless you're really connected, you'll never get anywhere. And that disillusionment leads them towards demanding for easy wins from politicians. Don't you agree that, yes, indeed, it goes back to the issue of youth unemployment, youth disillusionment. As you make your final comments on this issue of why we need politics and where our politics is, remember, it's only 16 months to 2027.
All is not lost, but unfortunately, in Kenya, we are lagging behind because we have spent a lot of energies towards politics. So the rest of the world is advancing in technology. So the Americans are going to the moon now for the second time, because the last time was in 1960s. And here we are, we're still talking about goons. And I even see the newspapers today. I'm seeing ODM struggling for space. Remember last weekend I saw Silas Jagakimba and Kaluma were having a lot of issues, shouting at each other about the issue of zoning. That is so much in line with that kind of connection, because someone wants to get a free ride to parliament so that he can have space to exercise his own power and have those kinds of connections for his own people, not based on merit. Therefore, I think as a country, we should also have a cultural paradigm shift, that we entrench our interest based on merit as opposed to issues around cronyism and nepotism at all levels. This is not necessarily about the government. You've seen that issue of cronyism also captured, and nepotism captured on the water issue, where someone has employed relatives and they are alleged to have siphoned the money that belongs to the people. So impunity is not just within the leadership. Impunity is within even the private sector. And that's a problem that is supposed to be weeded out through cultural change. We need to have a national consensus that we cannot continue sinking deeper than where we are. We need to get up and focus on the development of the country. And that means that every sector must proactively be involved in virtues of good leadership, not these vices that are ongoing. Right. Because the culture that we have had is that people blame others when they are not enjoying the fruits of or the consequences or the fruits of tokenism. The moment they're on the other side, they become the critics and look like the ones who are the saviors, the ones who are saints. But days ago, when they were in power, they were doing something totally different. I saw what Honorable Matiang'i was saying yesterday in Kajiado, and then I remembered when he was in power. I wish he said the same things when he was in power. The problem in this country is that people are hypocrites. When they're in power, they say this. When they're out of power, they say something else. Yes. They forget that power is transient. And if you do not treat people well when you're in power, there'll come a time when you are out of power and also not be treated fairly. Okay. So for us to be fair, we have to have standard laws, to have standard ways of behaving, so that regardless of the person who is in power, all of us are comfortable and are progressing as a country.
Yes, laws, culture, which, because even as you make your final comments, Madam Pasaris, there's a lot of talk around Gen Zs, and a lot of them, it will be their first time to vote, yet the culture appears to be more of the same, that the same way the older generation approached politics, even this new age voter will still be sucked into that kind of political discourse.
Yeah, I think we need, the Gen Zs are quite learned. And I think they came from a space of absolute frustration, lack of opportunity, and also seeing things that they say that things like corruption, mismanagement of our institutions are the reasons why they're living in a hopeless state. They are registering as voters, and I want them, when they're going to go out and cast their vote, to cast their vote on issues. Cast their vote, look at the whole history of our country, all right? And then cast your vote on issues. Cast your vote on who is promising you something that is going to make your life better, okay? Because it's easy for us to make promises out there, right? And for me, I think it's about how you want your country to create opportunity for you, okay? And you can't risk it. You can't chance it. And you can't go based on popular vote. You have to go based on what's going to make my life better, okay? So you vote because you believe in the person who is, or the party who is talking the language you want to hear and has got a track record. A track record is so important. Look at the track record of the person who's coming to ask you for your vote. Now, I want to talk about, Honorable Gakuya here talked about Jomo Kenyatta. During Jomo Kenyatta's presidency, Kenya had a population of 8.9 million people. And Tom Mboya, and the interview is on YouTube, Tom Mboya was asked in his first BBC interview, what are you planning on doing for your country? What are your plans now? And one of the things that he said, which I think we completely neglected, was planning our population in relation to our resources. You know, if you have this size ugali, this size one chicken, and you have a little greens, and you have 10 children, everybody is going to be hungry. But if you have 2 children, then everybody's going to have a full meal, all right? So if you have 2 children, then you'll probably be able to buy uniform for them both. But if you have 6 children, you can't buy uniform for all of them. You can't pay a SHA for all of them. You know, so for me, I believe that we missed the plot when we allowed religion to speak against family planning. And we as a state did not invest in family planning because we're trying to be Christian or godly. I want to say that even God understood family planning. So in a cycle of a woman, there are 14 days where if a woman has intercourse, she will not get pregnant. But unfortunately, those 14, every day is tea time. So there's no 14 days family planning. All right, that's the natural way, the God-given way. Then there is commodities. We need to invest in a lot of commodities. We need to educate people about family planning. And it's also for the health of the child. Today you're finding, there was a study that was done that if you don't space your children, it's not healthy for the mother, it's not healthy even for the child. So I believe that as a country, we should boldly address family planning. Because now we have 60 million people. But can you imagine if Kenya only had 20 million people? Would we be having the conversation on Goonism? No, because everybody would be on gainful employment. Everybody would be able to take care of their needs. The state resources will be sufficient. So I really feel that that's an area that we need to focus as a country. We need to plan our resources. Africa boasts of the youth that we have, but we're not able to give them the education. We're not able to give them the jobs. And then we're having a frustrated youth that has mental health issues, and it's really sad. Drugs and alcohol.
That's a very interesting take there. Thank you so much for that. Finally, Bwana Gakuya, wrap it up for us.
Let me also support the sentiment of my colleague. A country without plan plans to fail. And there's no way that you fail to plan your resources vis-a-vis your population. And the reason why we are where we are is that we have a background of well-educated clique that are totally jobless and even unable to give themselves food. And if this is the kind of a situation we are in, then it tells you for a long journey, we have not been planning the future of the country. And I would like to take a simple case to Europe, where in Germany, you find the whole Germany has 9 million population. A whole Sweden has 10 million population. A whole Norway has less than 10 million population. So the economy is very strong there. And the reason why is economy vis-a-vis the population. Then it tells you the country can be able to keep the population in good shape all through. But where we are, we are not taking serious stride towards solutions towards our population. And China has tried to make a stride because out of their big population, then they have made a big stride to get out of that space of joblessness and also finding a way of making an equalizer in their population. So that is where we have not taken that space. That we have what we call government, but government should be there to make sure that people are efficiently served and they are very in good shape. How do you arrive to that? It's out of planning, and I would say I cannot start to blame the current regime, but various regimes behind has been that mistake. But we must arrive to a point and ask ourselves, until when are we going to sort our problem? Right. Because as much as we want to take our skilled, export our skilled out of the country, and we are doing zero within our domestic, then we are still not making it. Right. It's a high time we must make sure that our counties are growing so that they are absorbing. Not everybody is crisscrossing from rural to urban just to look for unemployment. Right. So we must live there.
And that's a very interesting take. And I think this is for the first time after the show, at least we've gotten to a point where we're saying this is a problem. And you seem to agree that failure to plan for our population appears to be the biggest problem today. Thank you so much, James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Esther Passaris, woman representative Nairobi, and Fwamba NC Fwamba, a political commentator. Thank you for your time at TV47 today on TV47 Breakfast. After the break, Monday Blitz, Arsenal walifanya ile kitu. Sijui tutaenda wapi. Sijui tutajificha wapi sasa.
Asante. Story ni yetu.
Story ni yetu. Hashtag story ni yetu. All right, the Monday Blitz team will be here after the break. My name is Fred Ndemuli. See you after a while.
Some TV.